Hey guys, I'm back. So today I'm going to show you how to take apart this Dyson cleaner head. This goes to most of the newer cordless models like the V12, the V11, V15. So follow along if you want to see how to service and clean it deeply. The first thing that you're going to want to do is pop it open here on the side and just rotate it like that, and then you can pull the brush out. From there, what you can do is if you wiggle this and as you're pulling it, you can actually get this bearing cover out, and then you can get access to this bearing. So we can just take that screw out, and then this should just lift right up. So you can actually take the bearing out, and then you can actually really deep clean. You can submerge this, and you don't have to worry about damaging the bearing. Next, I'm going to take off these screws here. These are going to be a Phillips head number 1.
Unscrew those.
Okay, once you get your screws out, then you can stick a small flat screwdriver in here and just pry it up like that. And then it kind of lifts out of place here, and then this can slide out. You can see this slides over this area here. Okay, do that on the other side. All right, and then that frees up this here, and then you can peel this back, and you've got 4 screws that are holding this rubber piece in. All right, now that you've got the screws off, this is just going to lift out of place, and we can clean that. All right, so these are all the screws that are going to be your Phillips head. They're all the same. So you're going to need a T8 Torx bit, which is that star-shaped bit, and it's a size 8. So next we're going to take off these Torx screws here. You've got 4 in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 in the back. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then there's actually one more screw that I forgot to mention here, and it's right down here, and it's a small one, and it's also a Torx 8. Just a tiny little guy. All right, so next what you're going to need to do is grab like a small little flat blade screwdriver, and we're going to just stick it right down in this area here and just pry up just a tad, and then that will release it so that we can start to slide off this cover piece. All right, and that cover piece comes off, and you can see there's a ridge that is going underneath this lip here. So you need to lift that, kind of get that out of place too. You can see how it goes under there. All right, now from there we can go ahead and lift our wire up out of place, and you can kind of see where it's routed, which is going to be what you want to pay attention to for when we're reassembling it. Okay. This is a good time to take a picture. You know, if you've gotten to a certain point and you're not sure if you're going to be able to remember everything, then just take pictures and document everything. I've also got the 4 screws up here, so we can go ahead and take this gate assembly apart. And so we're just going to lift up. I'll show you how to put all that back together. So I've got the little gate pieces out of place, and then we can lift up our clear piece. Now, if you wanted to just do like a really, just do a servicing on this part, then you can go ahead and clean this really good with soap and water and put it all back together, and then just stop and reverse and go back. But I like to do things to where it looks perfect. So I'm gonna keep on going. And so if you want to keep following, then you can go. So basically, the only other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this motor out of this assembly here so that I can wash this part here too. All right, so basically what I'm going to be doing is washing all of these parts, and then I'll be back to show you how to put it all back together. I'm going to just keep this, I'm going to just brush this off. I'm not going to, you can wash this if you want, but these are kind of small parts. I'm just gonna, I can clean these sufficiently as they are now. Just a quick note, I'm not gonna be washing, this is your motor here, so we don't wanna get this wet, we don't wanna submerge it, get much moisture. What I'm gonna do, the extent of what I'm gonna do for this is I'm gonna just blow it off with some compressed air to get some of the dust off of it, and then I'll wipe it a little bit, and then I'm gonna do the same thing for this neck assembly. I'm just gonna blow it off and then wipe out whatever I can to get it clean. All right, so I'm back. We've got everything cleaned. A couple things I wanted to point out. When I was cleaning this might come out, and so when you're putting it back in, just make sure you line it back up here. This little angle, this little triangle section slides in there, and you can go ahead and put your bearing back in
and screw it down.
And then put your end cap back on, just like that. Okay, set that aside. That'll be the last thing that you're gonna put in. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our motor and nozzle assembly, and we're gonna drop it in place here. You wanna make sure that your wires are pressed in place here first, and then you're gonna slide this grommet down right there, just like that, okay? Next, you're gonna put your neck assembly and you're just gonna pop it back in place right here. Just make sure that it's popped in place here and that it can spin freely, okay? All right, so then you're going to take your clear cover, and if this black gasketing came out, just make sure you put it back in place before you put it back on. So, and then what you're going to want to do is you want to hold this motor right here. You want to kind of stick your hand in here, and then you're going to hold this motor so that it stays lined up here and stays flush, because what's happening is as you slide this down, there's a groove where the gasket is, that's going to be right here, and then there's another groove where this ridge of the motor is going to slide into, and that's going to keep the motor secured. Okay, so once you've got your clear cover on, we're going to go ahead and just route our wires. So we're going to pop this piece back down in like this, and then push your wires down in like that. So next we're going to take this piece, and you can kind of flex it a little bit, because remember, we want to get this little ridge here underneath this lip right here, okay? So we're going to kind of flex a little bit just to get it under there. Okay, and it pops in there. And then what you have to look at here is, you can see this hole. So we're gonna look at, and we're gonna line that up just like that. And then it should lock in place, okay? Same thing on the other side. There's a little hole that needs to line up, all right? So from there, we can go ahead and screw down our 4 screws in the back here. All right, so I'm gonna do that real quick.
Alright, and then we got that one more screw to go down right down in here. It's the short one.
Next, we can go ahead and get our little rubber gasket piece put on. So what you're gonna just look for is you're just lining this up down here at the bottom. You see that how it's just gonna close in there. It fits in there pretty nicely. And then you can peel back this rubber to get your screws in there.
And then these are your Phillips head screws, so you're gonna wanna grab those. And there's 4 that go down.
All right, next then we're gonna grab our these little plastic pieces here, and these, remember, these slide into this rubber. So there's just a channel that they're gonna slide into. And let me point out how this goes in. So you can see this little notch right here, this little pin right here. This is gonna be going into this spot here, okay? First, so you slide it into the rubber, and then you're gonna put it into there first, and then it sets in place here, and then you screw it down.
Okay.
And then the same thing on the other side. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can pre-install these gates here like that, and then as you're sliding it in, you just try to keep them in there. So you can install it like that. That's probably the easiest way to do it. The way that you know you have the gates installed correctly is when you're going to move this, you're going to see both of these gates lift up. So if that's not working correctly, then you just need to take it apart and put it back together until that works. All right, the other thing that you want to make sure is that your gap over here is good, because there's a little bit of a ridge. So that it's possible for this to set down in place and not be perfectly aligned. So you would check this gap here and make sure that you're good there. So once you've got your gate working properly, then go ahead and put your final 4 screws in. Okay, and then once you've got your screws in, go ahead and slide your brush roll in place here, and just like that, and then lock it in place. Okay, and you are good to go. All right, so if this was helpful, then let me know in the comments, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great day.